All right. Well, hello everyone. I'm Gerardo Campbell, the owner manager for support for stepdads. And I'm excited because today kind of represents a first for the blog. This is our first podcast. And I have the honor, and I want to say the first of what I believe will be many podcasts, but I have the honor today of introducing a licensed professional counselor. I also consider him a friend. His name is Bob Neve. And with that, let's get started with the questions. So, Bob, to start off with, can you tell the audience a bit about yourself and the work you do today as a therapist?
About myself, let's see, how much time do we have? Do you want my whole history? Let's see. How about the 1 minute?
You can use your best judgment.
How about I'll try the 1 minute version, see how this goes. Born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. Went to Northwest High. Lived in North Omaha first 10 years of my life and Northwest Omaha the next 10 years. Went to school in Lincoln, University of Nebraska, Lincoln. Got my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. Went to work for Boeing in Seattle in 1985 and worked for them for 12 years. I was a avionics design engineer and I did some defense projects I can't tell you about. And when I was there, I made a lot of money, spent it on beer and pot, got some good therapy. I also bought two houses while I was there. I always tell people I spent it on beer and pot, but I bought two houses when I worked there. Because they had me in Philadelphia for a while, and I bought a townhouse outside Philadelphia also. So, spent on beer and pot, got some good therapy, got clean and sober, um, had a wonderful experience in Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, and uh, that is the beginning of how I started to be a therapist. Um, in my first probably 6 or 8 months after I got clean and sober, my sponsor, Harry E. in Philadelphia, said, "Hey, I want you to sponsor this kid." And I sponsored this young teenager in West Philadelphia. And I loved it. It was so interesting. I guess I never thought about calling him my first client, but it was so interesting connecting with another human being I'd never met before. He didn't know me. We only met because of AA, and I helped him stay clean and sober, and it was a great experience. Um, that was in 1993 when I got clean and sober. I finished the last of my pot on Valentine's Day 1993. So I stopped putting bad stuff in my body February 15, 1993. I had the last drink that I ever had on January 26, 1993. I had two beers in one day and I said, uh oh, this is the same pattern I've done before. I can't do this anymore. So I've been clean and sober for 33 years and 3 days. How about that?
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then moved back to Omaha, made good money at Boeing, brought a bunch back with me. Um, and I did real estate for a while. I had some rental properties and I flipped a couple of houses. And let me go back and do two significant things I glossed over. I got born again in 1981, October 27, 1981. That was a big change for me because that was the end of the coke, the pills, the LSD, all the hard drugs. So between October 27, 1981 and Valentine's Day 1993, there was only alcohol and pot. There wasn't anything else harder than that. And I got married to my first wife, Nancy, in December of 1993? 94. 94. She moved in January 1993. I was a Christian, but I was kind of backslidden. There's my girlfriend moving in with me, and we got married in December, okay? All right. So, and then back in Omaha, I'm working real estate. I'm doing my 11th step, seeking through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God as I understand Him. And He very clearly said to me, "Okay, you're going to go become a counselor now." And I called up my wife's best friend, Mary, and I said, "How do I do this?" She goes, "Oh, you take these 8 classes and you get your licensed alcohol and drug counselor license, and then you go get a master's degree, and then you become an LMHP. That's how it happened.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah. So would you say there was a single defining moment in what led you to become a therapist, or was it like a slow, gradual pull?
I think it was. I think it was some quantum steps. I think it was, me getting clean and sober, getting good therapy, getting out of my depression, right? Um, Sponsoring that first kid in West Philadelphia, um, really having some good experiences in AA and NA, helping other people.
Hmm.
Um, there were just those various steps when I helped people that they were clearly deeply touched. Or there have been times when I've said a few words to an almost stranger and they start crying like, "Oh my God, you really touched the nerve. You really touched me and healed me of what I had," just like that, so many times.
Hmm.
Um, and then prayer and meditation in 2001, and got my first 8 classes done between July and November of 2001. Um, I was in an ethics class, one of my 8 classes, on September 11th, 2001. And then we had to stop class and go back and do it later, but that's a side issue. But yeah, so really,
Okay.
I think the biggest defining moment was in prayer and meditation. You're going to become a counselor now. And then I just followed the steps. Got my provisional license in alcohol and drug counseling in April of 2002. Got my master's degree at Bellevue University. Got my LMHP soon after that. Got my second master's degree. Got my licensed independent mental health practitioner license after that. I worked for other people from 2001 through 2008, maybe nine was the last time I worked for anybody, and then started my own thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, along your journey towards licensure as a, therapist, were there any mentors, professors, or clinicians that had a significant influence on your practice today?
Oh, absolutely. Um, See if I can go chronologically here. My first two sponsors, Dick V in Seattle and Harry E in Philadelphia. These guys had an incredible impact on my life. Um, Unpaid, unprofessional. Unprofessional sounds funny. They weren't professionals, right? Volunteers um, helped me tremendously. And as since I've been a therapist since 2002, I know how hard it is for people to find a good sponsor. And I got two great ones. So my next mentor, Stuart Baxter, was a Presbyterian minister, and he was the guy that would come into Nova, which was a residential treatment center, the first big residential treatment center I worked at in 2001 through 2004. Stuart Baxter would come in and do people's fifth step, which is confession, right? You take your
Hmm.
fourth step, everything you've ever done wrong, and you share it with yourself, God, and another human being. Well, Stuart was that other human being. So people would come out from doing their fifth step with Stuart, and these people were changed. And finally, one day, I stopped Stuart and I said, "Hey, you're Stuart Baxter, right?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "I'm Bob Neve, one of the therapists here. I just want to know, what are you doing to my clients?" And he gave me this funny look, and I'm like, "No, no, no." And then I smiled. I said, "Whatever you're doing is awesome. What is it?" And he said, "Well, he's a Presbyterian minister, so God and Jesus is definitely part of all this stuff. Neurolinguistic programming is what he used to help get through to people." So I'm like, "Well, what is that?" Oh, actually, I said, "Oh, NLP, I've heard of that before. Somebody gave me, a girl that I dated in, I don't know, 92 or 91, gave me an NLP book. I read an intro to NLP." And when he said that, I thought, okay, how do I get some NLP training? So I got some NLP training from Dixie Clark in Omaha, from Chris and Tim Halbaum, who originally were in San Francisco Bay Area and they moved to Utah. Um, and then other NLP people. I'm a big follower of Steve and Connie Ray Andreas, and a whole number of different NLP teachers. Tony Robbins, I love him. Really haven't taken any of his courses, just read a couple books. Um, and then there's other people in the NLP world that I connected with. Dr. Frank Burke, I love Dr. Frank Burke. Dr. Richard Gray, two guys on the East Coast, Northern East Coast. Nick Kemp, I admire him a ton. Um, and all the great NLP teachers that have come from, Bandler and Grinder, from their first books that they wrote in, what was that? Let's see. I'm gonna say 1970s. So, oh, and Robert Dilts. How could I leave out Robert Dilts? Oh man, I'm so embarrassed that I didn't say Robert Dilts. Robert Dilts is the encyclopedia of NLP. He's the walking encyclopedia of NLP. So, love Robert Dilts.
Okay.
And then I guess I'd have to add my thesis professor from Bellevue University, Dr. Roxanne Sullivan. Of course, she had a huge impact on me too. So,
Okay. So you mentioned NLP. For the audience, could you give like maybe a brief overview of the characteristics of that form of therapy?
sure. NLP is neuro linguistic programming. And these two guys, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, got together. And one of them was a linguist, and the other one was psychologist, I think. Um, and they got together, and one of the first conversations they had was, wow, Virginia Satir is an amazing therapist. Fritz Perls is an amazing therapist. Milton Erickson are amazing therapists. If we could study them and learn what they do and teach it to other people, we'd make $1 million. Or whatever they said. I don't know if they were thinking about money or just changing the world. So it's what they did. They started studying Virginia Satir and Fritz Perls and Milton Erickson and a number of other people throughout time. This is the 1970s in one of the state universities in California. And so what they discovered was that how people store their language in their mind has a lot to do with how they see the world, how they treat themselves, how they treat the other people, what they expect from the world. And if you address those things, you can make great change. Now, with that said, let me tell you, in my mind, there's kind of four different camps of NLP. One of them is full of shysters. One of them is full of guys who teach men how to pick up women against their will. NLP is a strong therapy practice, and it can be used for evil, like any good, powerful technique. So there's the shysters. There's the guys who don't believe in the science, who use it to their own benefit, the guys that we don't like, right? There's the real practice theoreticians that study this stuff, that do actual research and training, Robert Dilts and Frank Burke and Richard Gray. And I've done a couple of small research things too with NLP. So there's a group of us that are the kind of the academics. There's another group that I call those lovable old women. They don't have masters in therapy, they don't have PhDs, but they are angels and they are magical, and they use NLP to help people find deep meaning and joy in their life.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a bunch of them. I don't want to start naming them off because then I'd leave off somebody's name. You can just go chat GPT, NLP, angel women, and you're going to find a whole bunch of names of women and a few men that are really highly spiritual in their use of NLP. And then the other group, we all like these guys. They're the money makers. Tony Robbins made probably, I don't know, $1 billion selling what he sells. I like him. I admire him. I like what he says. Never met him. But yeah, there's the money makers. There's the guys that make a
Okay.
ton of money doing this. I'm really one of the academicians. I'm really Dr. Frank Burke and Richard Gray and Robert Dilts. Those are my buddies. If I go to a conference and I see all these people, I'm going to hang out with Dr. Frank Burke and Richard Gray and Robert Dilts, and we're going to want to hang out with the angel ladies, right? So the guys that have a ton of money, they don't want to hang out with us. We're only millionaires or moderately poor, and they're in a whole nother echelon. But we love them, right?
Okay.
So
All right.
does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank
Okay.
you. So early in your career, what types of clients or challenges did you find yourself working with most often?
Well, early on, of course, I was working with addictions, um, and literally within the first 2 weeks of working for Nova Therapeutic Community, I realized I'm going to have to become an expert in trauma because every single person that was in Nova had had trauma as a child, as a teenager, maybe in their 20s in prison, um, lots and lots of trauma. And so I started studying, Ellen Bass's book. I'll find the name and put it up here. And all the great trauma informed therapists to help understand the damage that happens to people when they're wronged, when they're hurt, when they're taken advantage of, and how to not only recognize that, but to do something about it, to overcome it, to heal it, to mend the wound so it isn't overcoming somebody emotionally today, and so that their choices that they made from that trauma they don't put into bad decisions about life today. So, drug and alcohol counseling, alcoholics, addicts of all kind, people that have had great trauma, and then I just simply specialized in those two things and depression and anxiety, because all four of those things go very much hand in hand. Those are four different pieces of the same pie. You know what I mean by that?
Yes.
Yeah. So those were the kind of clients that I liked. I discovered early on I didn't really like working with kids. I didn't really like working with teenagers. I liked working with adults who had the power to do something about their life and change their life. So almost all of my clients have been 18 to 55 years old. I've had a good percentage, 10-15% that were 55 to 70. I think the oldest client I ever had was 84. Um, Youngest client, I'm not sure. I had some kids that were clients that I was sitting in with another therapist to do stuff, but yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
so mostly that age group, men and women, um, all skin colors, races, genders, religions. Um, I work honestly really well with all of them because of NLP. That's really helped me to build rapport with everybody that I've met.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right. So you mentioned that there was a young man in Philadelphia that you sponsored that I guess you really derived a benefit from helping him. But I was wondering, was there any other experiences that you had that kind of affirm this is what you should be doing as a career?
definitely. Um, my first job was interning at Nova from November to April. I had to get my 300 hours of internship in before I could get my provisional license. And in the first couple weeks, um, uh, my supervisor, actually, I had a lead and a supervisor, and actually a lead, I'm not sure what, if you, first level supervisor and then second level supervisor, who was the um, clinical director, right? The clinical director asked my supervisor, "What about this new kid?" And my supervisor said, "He's a natural."
Hmm.
And that's one of the greatest compliments I've ever had. And then talked with the clinical director who observed me apparently a few times. And he said, "Oh my God, man. Um, you don't have a master's degree. I don't know what you're doing, but man, you're doing it well." I mean, clearly these guys were really overwhelmed. And these are some tough guys. My supervisor had spent time in prison, right?
Okay.
My lead had spent time in prison. The clinical director was a tough, tough, little bit crazy therapist. And when he saw me, he's like, "Man, you're on the right track. You are doing something really, really well." That was a huge affirmation for me. And I've gotten that at different times from different clients, from different other therapists that I work with, from my wife, who's also a therapist, by the way. Um, and we tell each other sometimes, "You're a good therapist. You have great ideas, and you really help people. Good job. Keep it up." You know.
Okay.
So yeah, almost makes
Do
me
you
cry.
ever work jointly with your wife with clients?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a little more expensive to have us both, but yeah, we've worked as a couple with couples. I really love that kind of work because the couple then gets to see how I treat my wife, how I talk to her, how I respect her, how I, as an extrovert, pause myself to listen to her,
Hmm.
who's the introvert. And it's really a new skill for me to pause in the middle of my sentence, as you can probably tell.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All
I
right.
love working together with her. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
All right. Um, so how is it, has your approach to therapy evolved from when you first started to work with clients to today?
Um, I guess I would say, I guess I do it this way. Let me go chronologically from when these men and women created their therapeutic approach or wrote their book. We got to go back to Dr. Bob Smith and Bill Wilson, who started AA. The 12 steps have revolutionized my life. I became a Christian in 1981, but I lost my way, and AA really helped me get back to my 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 relationship with God. Um, I believe the people who say Jesus is all you need, but you know what? I needed Alcoholics Anonymous to get back to Jesus. I needed
Mm.
AA to deepen my connection to God. So, Bill Wilson, Dr. Bob, and Bill Wilson, my favorites. Eric Byrne, Dr. Eric Byrne, transactional analysis. That's what they taught and used well at Nova. Eric Byrne is a psychiatrist. Probably 1958, he wrote transactional analysis. The book Games People Play. Oh, I think Games People Play was written by somebody else. I think Games People Play was written by one of Eric Byrne's students. But I love TA. The idea that within us there's a parent, an adult, and a child, and we're in one state or another.
Mhm.
Um, when we're around a childish person, maybe we act like a parent and tell them what to do. Or when we're 40 years old and we're around our 65-year-old father, we still feel like a child. Um,
Mhm.
so I love Eric Burns. I love TA. Of course, Aaron Beck, who pioneered cognitive behavioral therapy in the 60s. Um, that's the basic technique that I use, and everything that I do comes from CBT, comes from disputing irrational thoughts that people have. Because our feelings are going to follow our thoughts. And the only thing that we can change is our thoughts and our beliefs. And that changes our feelings, and that changes our behavior. So I love Aaron Beck. He's one of my favorites. 1968, Stephen Karpman created the Karpman Triangle. He calls it the drama triangle. um, Super simple model, but it really explains how families and marriages and workplaces can endlessly spin in a manipulative circle. There's the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. So the persecutor is always persecuting the victim. The victim is always whining to the rescuer, and the rescuer is always rescuing the victim and trying to get the persecutor to stop. And that triangle is just it's a pinball and a pinball machine until you step out of that triangle and say, okay, I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to rescue people all the time. I certainly don't want to persecute people. So, Stephen Cartman, super simple, revolutionary concept that I use all the time. Um, Favorite book that I've ever read, Your Perfect Right by Alberti and Emmons. Um, I think it's Robert Alberti. And Emmons based a lot of their information on Manuel Smith. Um, this is the book about training in assertiveness. Most people who are depressed, 90% of people who have depression have it because they're not assertive, because they go along with things and they're very passive and they're very agreeable until they decide that they want to have their way. And so they stand up and they say, "Hey, it's my turn to have my way." And everybody around them ignores them because everybody around them has been trained by them to say they're agreeable and they'll do anything. And then that person, "No, I still want my way." And then they blow up. And then they feel real bad and they get passive again and they get non assertive again. And then they blow up. Um, I was that way. I was very agreeable, very passive until I realized that being through this book, Your Perfect Right, that to be assertive is just me occupying my space. It's just me in my world, not letting people violate me or taking advantage of me. That's the assertiveness training that you need to be able to say no when your schedule's full, to say no when it feels wrong in your moral code, um, and to say yes to what is your highest values. So, You're Perfect Right. Alberti and Emmons, love those guys. Virginia Satir, of course, I've read a ton of her books. You got to read The Art of Becoming Fully Human. You got to read People Making. She's the one that helps us understand relationships not just as stuck, fixed patterns, but they're living, growing systems that can heal and blossom. So, and of course, she was the one that was studied by Richard Bandler and Grinder. So, NLP, as I've explained, that's another huge part of my practicing philosophy. In the late 80s, Marsha Linehan created dialectical behavioral therapy, uh, and it works great with people with moderate to severe emotional dysregulation. It really helps people who struggle with their emotions um, to realize they have an emotional mind, they have an intellectual mind, and they have a wise mind that can make wise decisions based on the two, and a thousand other things in DBT. Love them. The next big revolutionary thing was William Miller and Stephen Rolnick, who created motivational interviewing in the early 90s. It's all about, it goes hand in hand with NLP to help us create rapport with our client, realize that the client's goals are not necessarily our goals, and we need to make our goals secondary to what the client really needs to do. Motivational interviewing absolutely revolutionized the way I do therapy. Um,
Mm.
in the 90s, Prochaska D. Clementi Norcross wrote the book Changing for Good. If you want to learn how to change and keep that change for good, that's the book, Prochaska D. Clementi Norcross. Um, and then in the mid 1990s, this is really interesting because I started understanding parts work. I started understanding that within me is a lot of different parts. From my survival center, from my amygdala and my uh, base of my stem of my brain, comes all my fears and my survival instincts to breathe oxygen, sleep, drink water, eat food, and procreate. All your fear, all your anxiety comes from there. All your patience, all your goodness comes from your moral center up front. Um, and those brain cells that can plan, that have a concept of time. And so I started doing parts work in the 1990s, which did me wonderful good. And I only found out a couple of years ago there was a guy named Stephen Porges who wrote Polyvagal Theory, and Richard Schwartz, who developed Internal Family Systems, which is more about the internal family in your brain, not your external family. And those two guys really revolutionized parts work that I was kind of doing at the same time, but they wrote it all down and put it together. The last one that we really love, my wife uses a lot, is acceptance commitment therapy, developed by Stephen Hayes, Kelly Wilson, Kirk Strassel. Um, they're just a breath of fresh air to people who really struggle with unwanted thoughts and feelings. Instead of fighting those things, build a life guided by values. You're still going to have unwanted thoughts, you're going to have unwanted feelings, but make your decisions guided by your values. Those 12 authors and theoreticians are the basis of my therapy approach. How about
Okay.
that? Yeah.
All right. That's thorough. Yeah. So a question did come to mind was, have you done any work with attachment styles?
Um, I've read about attachment styles. I like them. It's a great way, it's a great new way to look at how people relate. And it's super popular right now. So, of course, I've read about it, figured out how to apply it. Um, I can certainly use it as part of, first thing that comes to mind is it fits right in with motivational interviewing because I want to have the client tell me how they attach to others. And it doesn't take long to figure out if they're anxious attachment or if they're avoidant attachment. Doesn't take long. Um,
Okay.
and very few people who come to therapy have secure attachment. And so, what I really focus on, based on all these other therapeutic approaches, you got to present to people the way you want them to go, the place you want them to be, what you want them to have. Not just focus on, oh, you're avoidant, oh, you're attachment. No, you want to focus on what do you want instead. You want a secure attachment. What does that look like? So the anxious person will talk about how you calm yourself to create a secure attachment. The avoidant person, we help to find some assertiveness and some courage to create a secure attachment. So, yeah, it's super popular, it's super modern, and it's good. I don't object. So, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I mentioned brought it up is I just recently published a article contributed by a contributor on attachment styles, and he included a link to their website where you could take a free assessment. It's like 100 question
Oh,
assessment on your particular attachment style. That's why my motivation in bringing that up. So
wow, 100 question assessment.
yes,
I think I can do that assessment in 4 questions. Anyway, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All
What do you do?
right.
What do you do when there's a problem? Oh, I beat on that problem until I get it solved. Oh, you're anxious attachment. Okay. What do you do when there's a problem? Oh, I run to my man cave. Oh, you're avoidant attachment. Okay. Anyway,
Oh, okay. I see where you're coming from, but yeah,
I'm sure the questionnaire is way more thorough than that. So yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's something we're offering on the site,
Okay.
that particular article.
Yeah.
So, for the listeners who are unfamiliar with therapy or reluctant to participate in it, what do you wish that people understood more about what therapists actually do?
Yeah, I really wish that people would realize a good therapist isn't trying to convince you to do something different. A good therapist is trying to set you free from whatever enslaves you, to set you free from whatever makes you do things you don't want to do. Um, it's really about respecting the individual um, and and um, giving them a new way to look at things, a new courage to be who they really, really are. Um, I've got atheist agnostic clients. I'm not trying to change them unless they ask me what I believe in God. I'll test those waters a little bit, but I don't send people in a direction they don't want to go. Um,
Okay.
so that's really the big thing I want clients to understand. Here's the other thing. Um, a quarter of my colleagues, a quarter of the therapists in the world, are in the bottom 20th percentile of therapy. Some of my colleagues are not very good.
Mm.
some therapists have done damage. Um, and the very first question I always ask a new client is, what's their experience been with therapy? Because if it's been bad, I want to know what hurt them, what annoyed them, so I don't do that same dumb thing. Um, I want to know what they think is silly about therapy. Most people say, "You're not going to just stare at me till I talk, are you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to do that at all." I don't know what. Well, I kind of know what that is, but that's not what I do. Um, Therapy is not supposed to be about you just going and venting to another person that nods, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, and then says, "How does that make you feel?" No, you can have AI do that, um, but to have a live person that's actually giving you ideas maybe that you wouldn't have thought of, to give you some answers that you don't have. A lot of people have a lot of answers inside themselves. Our job is to clear away the crud so they see those answers. But there's a lot of education that we do that helps them see the world in a new way. So, um, yeah, I wish everybody realized that, and just we're just honest that yeah, some people have had some bad experiences in therapy, and that's okay. You just keep looking for a better therapist.
Okay.
Yeah,
So related to that, how would you suggest someone go about selecting a therapist?
I really think the biggest thing that I need to tell all my clients is trust your judgment. People come into therapy with low self esteem and they don't know what to do next and they feel so bad about themselves. They can trust their judgment way more than they do. And so if you go to a therapy session and it didn't really help, you go to a therapy session, you feel worse when you're walking out and you still feel worse day or two or three later, maybe that wasn't the therapist for you. Um, your therapist has to be somebody that you have enough rapport with that you're not editing yourself, that you're being completely honest and telling them what's really going on in your life. If you're not able to be honest with that person, you got to find somebody else. Um, and that has a lot to do with personality. That has a lot to do with are you on the same wavelength? Do you kind of think the same? Um, what things do you have in common? That rapport helps lighten the mood so you can be comfortable sharing what's really going on inside. The number one thing is there's got to be a rapport. I've had clients once or twice a year. I'll have a client in the fourth session. If we don't have a great rapport going, I will tell them, hey, I don't think we have a good rapport going. I don't think I'm doing
Mm,
you any good. And usually they say, yeah, this hasn't done me any good. What are we doing here? I'm like, I'm going to find you a new therapist because we're just not clicking. Um, 90% of my clients I will really click with in the first 45 minutes. Another 8 or 9%, I have to work at it a little more to make them feel really comfortable sharing. But that's the therapist's job is to make that person feel comfortable sharing everything that's going on in their life.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, I understand you're available for therapy remotely,
Hmm.
but I was just wondering, are you noticing any differences between a remote therapy session versus an in-person?
Yes. Um, People are more likely to show up to their remote Zoom therapy than they are to their in person therapy. Um, it's easier, it's simpler. People can do it on their phone anywhere. I have a ton of sessions with people in the park, with people in their car. Oh, lots of sessions with people in their car, um, in their
Okay.
basement, in their attic, um, down by the pond and back of the house in Nebraska. Um, the only thing that's really missing is like the rest of the body language, from here down. But facial expressions and the body language that's up here um, is usually plenty. Even in live sessions, I haven't gotten a lot of information from the body language below, except somebody crosses their legs. I don't get that on remote. crossing their legs is maybe they're a little uncomfortable, maybe they're a little bit closed off. That toe tapping thing, I don't see that toe tapping thing, which I wish that I would be able to see that. Sometimes you can hear it, or sometimes you can tell when their chair's moving a little bit, you know? So I got to watch for things like that. Um, but there's really not much I miss. Here's the one big thing I miss as an alcohol and drug counselor. I cannot smell you when you're on Zoom. In my treatment center at 4913 Underwood in Omaha, when you walked in the front door and you smell like weed, I can take you by the arm and take you back out on the front porch and say, you don't have to come to treatment tonight. Go home. Right.
Sober up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one big thing I miss. But, you don't really need to smell your clients except for
Okay.
the alcoholics and the potheads. So, and I
Okay.
say that lovingly, Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if one of the listeners wanted to reach out to you, how would that be the best way to do that?
You Google Bob Neve, Bobneve. Here's how you're going to remember this forever. Even Bob Neve backwards is even Bob Neve. You Google me, you'll find me. You go to theclearviewcenter.com and scroll down to the bottom. You'll find my contact info and Sherry's contact info. We've had 20 different employees over time, but right now we're semi-retired in Florida. And so Sherry and I are the Clearview Center now. But yeah, email me, send me a text, give me a call. I don't answer my phone anymore. Do you answer your phone anymore? You got to get a text
Sometime.
first. You got to get a text first, right? If they're in your contacts list, right? Send me
Right.
a text. You send me a text, send me an email. I'll get back to you right away and let you know what my rates are and what my schedule's like. I'll ask you what your schedule's like and what you're looking for. Um, Somebody wants a free 15-minute talk with me to judge for themselves if I'm an idiot or if I'm a genius. I'd love that. I'd love
Okay.
to talk with somebody for 5 to 15 minutes, no charge, no even thought about paying for it. I just want to let them know they can be free to do that. They can be free to call me up and have a chat. And I've had people have a chat with me and just know that I'm not the one. That's perfectly fine. I've had lots of people who have started chatting with me and in 15 minutes said, that's the guy. That's the guy I'm going to go see. So
Okay.
glad to do
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
So the mission of support for stepdads is to reverse the horrendous divorce rate of blended families, nearly 70%. And what caused me to reach out to you is your course, Save Your Marriage.
Yep.
Could you just give an overview of that?
Absolutely. Sherry and I have worked for a year and a half on this course. Um, it's in 20 lessons. The videos are 20 minutes to 25 minutes. I think one of them's a little longer, 27, 28. We are so proud of this course. The year and a half that we took to put this together, to write the script, to do the videos, to do the 81-page workbook, this really is everything that we know in therapy, that if a couple does everything, they are really, really likely going to stay together. Um, the first thing we do is we give you hope that your marriage isn't dead, it's not over. If you're still legally married, if you're still in the same house or not, if you still want to uh, repair that marriage, it can be done. Um, the first thing that people have to know, which is the second module, is we have to understand ourselves. We have to understand our love language, our personality type. Myers Briggs, we use a lot. We also use the big five personality traits, much more scientific. Um, those three things really help people to understand each other. Along with, we have 53 other questions that help people figure out who they are in the context of the biggest fights, the most intense fights, and the most long-lasting fights that we have ever seen in couples. In me doing this for 24 years, and Sherry's doing it for 14 years. The biggest fights are usually over compulsions: alcohol and drugs, overspending, gambling, compulsions, overeating, not exercising, stuff like that. Um, and then it comes down to, do you want to get married or not? How many kids do you want to have? And if those things aren't the same or pretty much the same, you're going to need to spend a lot of time and energy on this relationship to make it work. Um, I was not very compatible with my first wife, and it was miserable for both of us. I am super compatible with Sherry, and it is so easy. We laugh every day. We've had 4 arguments in 18 years of being together. Um, I made her cry one time when I told her she needs to talk to the dean at Bellevue University about this professor who's bad, and I made her cry. um, Sometimes I drive too fast and it makes her nervous, but um, we look at couples every day that are arguing and fighting, and when we're done, we say, "Oh my, thank you God for sending me Sherry." And it's only easy because we're compatible, because of compatibility. And compatibility isn't like tests to prove to yourself that you shouldn't be together. Compatibility is the framework to help you understand the other human being in your life. And so we use that framework to help you understand yourself, to help you understand your spouse, and then we move on to communication. Communication is module 3. We go through all the skills from basic to expert, from basic respect and calm to the use of humor and communication to open things up. Um, if you go through that module on communication, you will be an expert. You will be a super expert, an advanced expert in communication. Then the fourth
Okay.
module is about setting boundaries. Um, if your spouse continues to disrespect you and hurt you, you need to set some boundaries. So that fourth module is about setting boundaries because those boundaries help to change the marriage. Um, Setting boundaries, conflict resolution, how you actually resolve conflicts, um, and uh, and what to do when the other spouse really isn't cooperating. Then, once you've resolved all those conflicts and you don't have to set boundaries anymore because you're all safe with each other, module 5 is maintenance. It's the things that we recommend to couples to do on a weekly basis, or however often that couple needs, depending on how compatible they are or aren't. If you're not compatible, you're going to do more maintenance. If you're super compatible, you're going to do less maintenance. Um, and that we created this course because we wanted to give people a cost effective way to do 6 months of therapy with a real expert like Sherry and I. Um, and if they spend that $300, they may not have to spend $150 every single week on me and Sherry, right?
Okay.
So we built that specifically for people um, who don't have a lot of money and really genuinely need help. Those are the kind of people that, in my value system, I want to help poor people. Jeff Bezos doesn't need my help. Actually, Jeff Bezos probably does need my help, but I don't. I don't need it. We've had some very wealthy clients, and I don't dislike them. I love them just fine. But
Right.
I really love working with somebody who's uh, who really needs help, and really struggles, even to make ends meet. Um,
Okay.
you know,
So is the course kind of like go at your own pace?
hmm Absolutely. Um,
Okay.
if you go to, we'll have a link on our website. We just finished the video sales letter that goes onto the landing page, and
Okay.
so hopefully in the next couple of days that'll be attached. So yeah, the course is actually there. I've had one of my clients already Venmo me $300 and I put him in the class, so he's already working on it.
Yeah.
It's on a platform called Go High Level, and you can work at your own pace. There's a workbook there you can download. It's a PDF, and you watch the videos and you answer the questions.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Um, Not to put you on the spot, but I was wondering, do you have like a measure of your success rate with keeping marriages, saving marriages versus?
Yeah. In the first few years of doing our private practice, so that's for me, it was about, I think it was about 2012 when I did looked back and did the stats. And this would have been 2012 back to 2002. At that point, when we did follow ups with people after therapy, 92% of people were far happier, happier or far happier than they were before they came to therapy. 92%. Now, two-thirds of those people were still married. A third of those people had gotten divorced because it was bad. Because even if they were good people and horribly incompatible, they were treating each other badly and they divorced and they found somebody else that was more compatible. So we had 92% of what we call success. Uh, Two-thirds of the marriages that we've seen are still together, saved the marriage, learned how to treat each other with respect and kindness and love, learned how to understand and accept the other person for who they were. So two-thirds of them we saved, and
Great. Yeah.
another portion of them that are way happier because they got out of relationships that were abusive and hurtful.
Okay.
The other 8%, you can't win them all, right? So I don't know what to
Right.
say. Yeah,
Well, the thing is, you have more saves than losses.
way more. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And related to that, I'm assuming you've worked with blended families, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Usually when we get a couple together, we draw a family tree on the board. And I've made a kind of a joke out of having a W chart. So this guy had a baby with this girl who had a baby with this guy who had a baby with that girl. And she's dating this guy who's fathering this kid. And this kid really likes that one as the father. That's the world we live in today. Um,
Right.
and honestly, uh, it it might feel complex, but it's really beautiful to have that kind of diversity blending into a family. And things happen. I'm not going to judge people for having kids out of wedlock. That stuff has happened since the beginning of time. Why
Hmm.
should we even judge people about that? I'll leave that to Jesus and their own conscience. And
Right.
I'm going to say this also. One of the things that we do in therapy is we keep judging to a bare minimum because we know every client that we're seeing, they're judging themselves. People nowadays judge themselves so harshly, they don't need me to judge them. People are so self critical, they don't need me to tell them, well, that was a bad choice. I mean, they know, right?
Right.
They don't
Right.
need me to say
Yeah.
that. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's a great note to end on. I appreciate hearing that, Bob. Yeah. I thank you for the teaser as well on the Save Your Marriage. Um, I would like to schedule some more time with you, maybe where you can go more in depth in terms of the issues related to marital conflict, etc.
Okay.
Um,
Love to.
but yeah, and of course, I want to thank the audience. Like I said, this is the first of what I believe will be many podcasts in the future. I'd appreciate your feedback by maybe leaving something in the comments, good, too long, too short, etc. So, with that, I just want to wish everyone a blessed and good day, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
See you
you're
later,
welcome.
Gerardo. Bye bye.
Okay.